Never been good. Good. Yeah, he had knee surgery. That's what it is, my cousin, because it sneezed. It's going to get a cool water park. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. First item will be roll call.
Brown,
Here.
Cox,
Here.
Davis,
Here.
Gerke,
Here.
Graves,
Here.
Nail.
We'll second pledge. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Take a moment of silence if you're comfortable with that. Motion to approve the agenda. So second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Had a chance to look over the minutes from the last meeting. No additions or corrections, so stand approved as presented. Practice.
It technically says that is here by video, but it's just by phone.
Now, some visitors, we have Pettis and Dr. Jessup. There was no public comment sent in, so we'll move to Officer Report, Chief Report.
All right. Good to see everybody. Starting on page 3, you'll find our June numbers year to date. Always try and keep track of where we are, especially summertime. Our numbers always kind of peak this time of year. June last month was our second busiest month ever at PCAD. Only fell short by a little bit from August of last year. So we were neck and neck with the busiest month we've ever had. So yes, we've been humming. Other than that, no anomalies on there. Call volume is exactly where I'd expect it to be as far as transfers versus 911s. No issues there. Windsor had picked up a little bit as well. We ran 99 down there. We've been running a little bit low, but ran almost 100 in Windsor. None of the status level 0 events caused any patient delay or delay of care. Those were purely logistical coverage type movements where either Windsor or Sedalia would be at status 0, which again means no units available. We're just all engaged on other calls. So no problems with that. I did add the green column down at the bottom, which is our basically just so you can look at the month. And this is all this is those yellow lines added up at the very bottom. So it's our total call volume. When we're looking at billable calls, that might be an important number you guys might want. That does include all the non-billable calls. I could break them out further, but I figure they're pretty well broke out in the above columns. It's just that one kind of helps me keep track of where we're at, just as far as logistically. On to the report. I'm going to hand off. I don't think Dr. Gustafson is on the agenda tonight, but we spoke earlier, and there's been some changes in triage protocols nationwide, and I thought I'd hand that off to him if you're okay with talking about that real quick.
The American College of Surgeons, who pretty much kind of writes the guidelines for how trauma patients are triaged and managed, has revised the field triage schematic. I like it. There's just some minor changes to what we had before. But I think it's going to make it easier, and I think there's more clarity for the folks that are handling a mass casualty incident to be able to direct patients to where they really need to go. Unfortunately, we had a need with the train wreck up in Mendon. Did you guys send an ambulance out?
We were on standby for it. We didn't actually send a unit.
Yeah. But, you know, there was like 250 people involved there. And fortunately, most of them were just minor injuries, if injured at all. And they were able to transport most of the ones that really needed care from the scene. The rest were taken to the local high school gymnasium and were further triaged from there. But this is the kind of thing that our folks need to be familiar with. And I talked to Justin this afternoon. He's going to put it out for our crews to have familiarity with it and get it implemented as part of our routine.
I have a question.
Yeah.
In an event such as that, out in a rural area, and emergency services all flock in to respond, who is the ultimate site supervisor in that case? Is it the county sheriff? Is it the highway patrol? Is it the, who answers to whom, and how does that chain of command set itself up?
Ordinarily, it's not really clear.
Well, I'm thinking of Uvalde here.
Yeah. In a mass casualty incident, usually fire takes incident command.
Okay.
And law enforcement kind of falls underneath that a little bit, just to provide security and control of the scene.
So in the case of Mendon, that would be the volunteer fire department.
Yeah.
And they would still have original command.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, yeah.
I wonder how that.
But, and it kind of depends on whether or not it's a crime scene, because like with Uvalde, I mean, they knew they had an active shooter. And in that situation, law enforcement basically is in charge to get the scene safe so that EMS can come in and take care of the wounded or injured.
So just wondering how quickly that organizes itself, or does somebody just show up and flash a badge and say, I'm in charge?
I can actually take that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Our command staff, all of our senior command staff is trained in Instant Command System, which is ICS, or the National Incident Management System. This is set up by FEMA. It's a nationwide organization. Just to give you an example, a couple different examples, we can use it on every call. Somebody shows up on call, they assume command on a low intensity call where there's just one or two patients. That's usually fire. Somebody's on scene. There's a safety officer. There's somebody who can coordinate with dispatch and kind of, the word I like to use is choreograph the whole scene. On the opposite end of that spectrum is like the BP oil spill, where there's 1,000 different organizations, and the org chart takes up an entire wall. How it is supposed to work on a large scale event had the potential to be like another Sioux City event. If you remember the plane crash up there many years ago, thankfully it didn't work out that way. But what happens is the initial responders come in, we organize whoever else is coming, generally fire, law enforcement, somebody even from the state, FEMA level might even show up if it's a major event. And at that point, things start to branch out. Where EMS lives in that organization, pretty much 99% of the time, unless we find ourselves with no one else available to take command, is in the ops section, operations. There's logistics, there's operations, and then there's demobilization, and just the complexity is based on the type of call. So the complexity of the organization is based on the complexity of the call. Anybody, I like to say, if they're carrying a bottled water or they're carrying a Band-Aid or they're waving a gun around, is in the ops section. So we all kind of live in there. When it comes to the actual command, generally it's not political folks. It's usually somebody up from a higher level, like the DMAT team might come in that regard in Sedalia, which is our disaster, Roy, medical assistance team. Thank you. I always mess that one up. Generally, they're called in by a command on scene, which would be our battalion chief. We have a nice little fold-out chart in the back of our ambulance or the back of our command vehicle with a grease pencil. It's pretty slick to watch it all happen.
So there is a pecking order.
Absolutely.
It is established and adjusted with a great deal of immediacy.
Yes, sir. And it's dynamic.
What my question.
Yeah. It's ICS. There's an intro to ICS called ICS 100 and 200 that it's a recommended board of director training. I think if you're going to apply for like federal grants as a disaster relief, like after a tornado, board members need to have that. And all it is an introduction to what I just talked to the whole class pretty much. You can do it online once you get that FEMAS ID, and it's good. It's good information to have. You can really tell how things are set up. And when you start seeing those things happen on TV after you've had that class, you can kind of say that's what that person's doing. And so
There are ambulances, there are emergency personnel from what, 8 or 10 different sources, and I wonder if they all reported to the same person, and that was
Yeah, they
before
do.
the
When you come on scene,
originally or evolved.
we established 3 sections: treatment, triage, and transport. No, not that order: triage, treatment, and transport. And each of those 3 sections may or may not be combined depending on, again, volume and complexity. So,
Thank you.
yeah,
yes,
sure. Sorry, I just
okay.
refreshed on that, so it's all right in here.
Yeah. On another matter, I retook my emergency medicine boards this spring, and I got word a couple of weeks ago that I passed. So as long as I can meet the needs of the board and the district and the service, I'll be happy to continue as your medical director. So
Thank you, Doctor.
Doctor, when do these new criteria go into effect?
actually, as soon as we can get everybody trained up on it.
Okay.
These were
So it's
approved.
already in effect.
Yeah, these were approved by the College of Surgeons in 2021. They're just now being distributed to air ambulance services, EMS and fire services.
Yeah, your CNO, Buffalo CNO, is actually the one who pointed us to that. It didn't come through. We had been using the Center for CDC's trauma triage guidelines for years. That's what everybody's used. And they will finally, when that's all said and done, probably sign off on this too, but that's signed off by every physician's group and emergency across the board. So I think Buffalo is also transitioning to that as well. We're all on the same page. No, thank you. Appreciate it. Let's see. And that whole thing is on page 6. I did want to point out that this is for 1 patient or 1,000 patients. It's not necessarily just for mass casualty incidents. So this will also tell you if you have someone you're wondering why we took them to a trauma center versus to Bothwell or a level 1 cardiac or stroke center. Well, this is all trauma, but this will actually give you an idea of why they went where they went. So this is part of our treatment transport decision process. Very, very central part of our treatment. Back to page 4. Nothing on major equipment. Skipping down to the projects or repairs on the units. 11 is still out being prepared. We're still waiting on word on it. I know it's slow going, but it'll get here. The AEV unit on order is in Columbia as of this writing. No update on it beyond the fact that it's in Columbia getting its final, the decals and some of that stuff put on up there. I did make some notes on our vehicle mileage. We've had a bad week mechanically. You know, we have 3 ambulances that we keep in the backup rotation. And pretty much for the past 2 weeks, we've had no ambulances in the backup rotation just because of maintenance issues, breakdowns. Some of it's kind of expected, some of it's not. But I did want everybody to know that we definitely use those backline units, and we've been taken right up to the edge of our operational limit when it comes to our backup unit usage. We actually did some repairs in-house today. Our battalion chief was doing some of this stuff because it's just really hard to get a unit anywhere in for repair. So we are looking at different options for repair shops and so forth right now. And that might be a further discussion for next meeting, in fact. So let's see. Most of it's just standard maintenance stuff, some ball joints. Of course, it's all stuff that's out of warranty. We did have, let's see, some air conditioner unit problems on the 2019 AEV. Catalytic converters. We had a unit that was rough idling, and they actually were able to fix it today. The unit was dying and sputtering and doing all kinds of stuff. That ended up being a sensor that, again, our battalion chief was gracious enough to take on himself today and get fixed. So that worked out very nicely, and thanks to Eric Myers for doing that. Unit 11 is, I'm sorry, unit 9. We were having some rear end problems, and that's one that we're still trying to find somebody to work on. It's got a burning smell in it. I don't know what the issue is with it, but it's got 181,000 miles, as you can see. So we're probably going to end up having to take it somewhere. It's drivable, but it's definitely not able to be put in emergency service. So I think we've been limping along as needed with it. Would that be a correct statement, Roy? Unfortunately, we've had to resort to it, but after today, it should go backline as well. And then the unit 1, which is the unit we would probably be selling once we get the new unit in, we did have a radiator. Something got up into the radiator. I don't know if it was an animal or what, but it ended up breaking the fan off, putting the fan into the radiator, and we had to replace both of those. We're doing those in-house as well. No major expenses on parts. It's just little stuff and a whole lot of it all at once, pretty much. So has not been a great week for that. And I didn't really see any, trends in there as far as, are we not doing the correct preventative maintenance or anything? It's just when it rains, it pours. So any questions on the vehicle maintenance stuff?
Units 8 and 9, those are left.
No. We don't have any of those left. Those are transits. Those are Ford Transits. They used to be the old Mercedes Sprinters, but those are, don't quote me on this, over there from the Democrat, but yeah, we were glad to see those go. Those were high maintenance and expensive. Okay, moving on down to administration. I don't have any update on the project bids. We have been getting a lot of requests daily, at least a couple a day on that. So I'm hoping to have, once that bid closes, I'm hoping to have some bids put in on it. So we've got a lot of interest in it, though. I sent some information down for the Windsor Ambulance Board to consider on a generator. That will be at their expense. I'm just letting you guys know we are going to be, Windsor Board is interested in putting a backup generator in Windsor. Right now we have a kind of a makeshift, doesn't put out near the kilowatts it needs to power everything in the station. So they're upgrading to basically a system as similar to what we have up here in Sedalia. So they're putting some money back in their station with that. I'm looking currently at some LED lighting for the bay. We've got a total of 32 3 or 4 bulb, 4-foot fluorescent lights over there in the bay. We're looking into some Evergy gives incentives for replacing those. So I'm gonna get them out to look at it. The labor, we can do some of it in-house, and we'll have to farm a little bit of it out. I don't think it'll be a huge expense to look at actual install of them. And the products I'm looking at are around $1,000 to do the whole thing. That's the East Bay and the entire ambulance bay. So that's something I'm researching right now. I just kind of want to let the board know what we're doing there. And I think it'll save a lot of money. The rebates, or not the rebates, but the incentives from Evergy are not insignificant. I think depending on if you work it right, you might even actually pay for the whole switch over. So it will definitely save a lot in the energy costs, though, and probably keep our heat down in the bay a little bit, just without, I'd say a good probably 20% of those lights out there, the ballasts are either bad or going bad on them. So rather than replace them, I'm just looking at doing an LED solution for that for the district. All right. Page 5. I don't think I got much else on here. I did want to point out, and Dr. Gustafson pointed out the Amtrak incident. I'm sure by now everybody's heard about the I don't know what we're actually labeling it, the incident that happened in Western Missouri Medical Center in Warrensburg. We did respond to that. It wasn't in the paper that we did, but we did actually respond to that. We sent 2 units up. 1 unit did actually transport a patient out as they were clearing the floors out. I think we took one out of ICU and it went up to research in Kansas City. So we were involved in that. Kudos to Johnson County. They really rolled out an amazing response up there. And luckily it all turned out for the good. So, that's always a good thing. But we did send 2 units, 1 actually transported, and we were canceled as soon as they, I think we were probably up there a total of maybe 2 hours-ish. So they wrapped it up and demobilized everybody pretty quickly. It was a very efficient setup. No update on the SIM mannequin. I do start some chief administrator training tomorrow. I'm hopeful that's just mostly refresher stuff. I'm sure there'll be some good information in there, but that's going on the next 12 weeks, every Wednesday for an hour, every Wednesday. The board member training went fine last week. We had some of Windsor board down there with us as well, doing the board training. And then pretty much all of our administrative staff went down and either refreshed or took some advanced training down there. And it was good. It was a good turnout down there, a good class. It's nice to see everybody kind of getting out of their Zoom habitats and coming back into public and having these meetings together. So that went well. A reminder about the FEMA SID. If you haven't done that, there's the address to do that. Beyond that, we were interviewing for a full-time paramedic last week. No decisions have been made there. We did also interview applicants for those FTO positions and kind of hashed out where we want to go with that today. I'll have some news for the board at the next board meeting as to who and when and where those are being implemented. Other than that, that is all I have, Justin.
Eric, that simulator is supposed to ship Friday.
Okay, all right. Justin did not
called when
know that.
you were busy with something.
Good deal. All right. That's good. They had, it got pushed back a little bit. Now it's been brought up a little bit. So hopefully it'll be here soon.
Now we'll move on to CFO Report.
Should have the bills sitting at your seat there. Not which one of these, but the first page there is the summary of all the bills that are currently due, and then new details are behind that, as well as the credit card statement.
Tractor,
Yes.
sales report.
So I don't know if the hospital has the same issue as we do with Stryker billing, but it's always lags. So I called them today about an invoice, and it turns out there was 5 more invoices that they'd never sent us. So that's what you're seeing here is they finally sent us all these invoices. So I don't know if it's Stryker, I don't know if it's the mail, but since I've been here, it's been that way with Stryker. So Stryker, where we get like our life packs, our defibrillators, if we get our cots from there, our power loads, most any of our medical equipment comes from Stryker. So what you're seeing there was 4 battery packs. I believe those were for cots. There was a cot upgrade for that new ambulance last year. We had to do something to get it to fit differently in this new power load. And then the LP15, that's our defibrillators, preventive maintenance. There's 3 and 2 on there. And then our power cots, preventative maintenance, and power loads is what all of that is. So pretty much it's mostly preventative maintenance other than the cot upgrade and the battery packs. And you'll see their fuel is up significantly over last month. Last month it was about 14,000 or 18,000 this month. Any questions on anything else on here? Sure.
What is that life assist?
Life Assist is medical supplies.
Supplies.
So Life Assist, McKesson, Boundtree, those are where we get most of our medical supplies from. Any other questions? And you'll see on the credit card statement, it's on the second page, I believe. And you'll see that GOMARD is on there. That's that simulator we were talking about, the 18,000. So that's what's sending our credit card balance up this month too, as well as the training we went to. No other questions? That is all I've got for you. Oh, I did call and get an update on the audit. It is in review. She's hoping to have the final by next board meeting. So I'll let you know when I find out.
Any other questions on the bill? Take a motion to approve payment of outstanding bills. So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Yes, the unfinished business, new business on the agenda, are there any announcements?
I do have a couple announcements that would, from the hospital, that would directly affect PCAD. One, unfortunately, and Dr. will be interested in this, is that we got notification that we were denied our trauma certification. And we have appealed that because everything that we submitted, they basically had a disclaimer on there that said was not submitted timely on every single line. So, which we did, and we reviewed it, and so we are now appealing that. The second one is with our ER physician group, used to be Envision. Okay, as of the 16th of July, we will be employing or contracting all of the ER providers, the physicians, mid-levels.
The hospital.
The hospital.
Assuming that control.
That's correct. We will be, we won't be going to Envision out of Pensacola, Florida. It'll all be local, it'll be all of our providers. That's as of the 16th. Most of the providers stayed. Envision basically gave us a termination notice.
Okay.
And unless we were to pony up some more subsidy, and we decided we were just going to take it all on ourselves. We did this in 2012. We were still doing this. And so now we're going back to that. So Bothell will be doing the billing. For that, if the patient comes in, they won't be getting a bill from us, and Envision will just be getting a bill from us.
No, it's the same medical director, correct?
It is the same medical director. We have recruited another ER board certified physician that's going to be joining us as well.
All right.
Any other announcements? I would take a motion to adjourn the meeting. We have a second. Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Katie still online with us?
Steve?
Yeah.